Good evening. I'm Commissioner Penna of the Putnam County Highway and Facilities Department. I would like to introduce this public hearing for the Fair Street Improvements Projects, PIN number 875604. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The Fair Street Improvements Project is a long-awaited project that provides significant improvements to one of the county's high-volume roads that serves Carmel High School and the hamlet of Carmel. While this is a formal public hearing, it is important to the county to provide for public involvement. It is our policy that sufficient public meetings and public hearings are held to inform the public, review the public use to be served by the public project, and the impact on the environment and the residents of the locality where such projects will be constructed. Provide for constructive public involvement and input, provide design and scope adjustments where possible before moving on to the detailed design and construction phases. The Fair Street Improvement Project is funded in large part through the Transportation Improvement Program known as TIP. This is an essential federal program specifically designed to help keep transportation systems in a state of good repair, advance needed infrastructure improvement, reduce congestion and pollution, and improve safety. Both the Federal Highway Administration, FHWA, and the Federal Transportation Administration, FTA, contribute significant federal funds to these efforts. This program helps municipalities carry out significant infrastructure projects that would otherwise be impossible to fund. With the support of the county executive and the county legislature, the county has developed an effective internal project team that works cooperatively with the federal and state agencies to move our current TIP funded projects forward and begin to look toward new projects that improve our transportation infrastructure. With that, I'd like to turn the meeting over to our design team from Clough Harbor Associates, CHA, to explain where we are in the project process, the design details, and the next steps, as we look forward to finalizing the Fair Street Improvement design this year and awarding a construction contract in 2022. Thank you.
Who was the Joan?
Thank you, Commissioner Penna. Just want to do a sound check, make sure you can hear me okay.
I can.
Yes.
Okay, great. Well, again, thank you, Commissioner Penna. And I would formally like to open this public hearing for PIN 8756.09 Fair Street Reconstruction located in the town of Carmel, Putnam County, New York. The purpose of the public hearing is to outline the purpose, use, and benefit to be served by the project, the location of the project and the reasons for the selection of that location, and the general effect of the project on the environment and residents of the town of Carmel and the county of Putnam. For this presentation, I will first explain the public hearing procedure, after which I will cover some background information on this project and how it has come to be. I will then present the design objectives of the project and how the project is being funded. Next, I will review the design alternatives that were evaluated by the county and ultimately discounted for various reasons. After that, I will describe the preferred alternative in some detail and why it was chosen by the county as the preferred alternative. I'll then recap the project, after which we will take formal public comments for the record. And Commissioner, if I could, I just want to make sure the screen is coming through okay. We have the notice of the public hearing up on the screen. Just want to confirm that. I don't know if anyone can pipe in. I will continue. A notice of the public hearing was published in the Journal News for 5 consecutive days beginning June 3rd, 2021. The notice of public hearing was also published in the Putnam County Times on June 2, 2021 for 2 consecutive weeks. Also, a copy of the notice of public hearing was sent to the assessment record billing owner.
Hey, hi, Joe. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
We were trying to unmute. We only see your name right now.
Okay.
We don't see the presentation.
Okay.
Thank you.
How about now? Do you see the notice of public hearing? I just want to confirm that the notice of public hearing is on screen. Okay, a notice of the public hearing was published in the Journal News for 5 consecutive days beginning June 3rd, 2021. The notice of the public hearing was also published in the Putnam County Times on June 2, 2021 for 2 consecutive weeks. Also, a copy of the notice of public hearing was sent to the assessment record billing owners potentially impacted by the proposed public project. The public notice reads as follows: Notice of public hearing, Putnam County Department of Highways and Facilities in 8756.09 Fair Street Reconstruction Project. Notice is hereby given that the County of Putnam, by and through its Department of Highways and Facilities, will hold a public hearing on the proposed PIN 8756.09 Fair Street Reconstruction Project. The public hearing will be held by audio-video conference pursuant to the Governor's executive orders during the current state of emergency on Wednesday, June 16, 2021, commencing at 6 p.m. The purpose of the public hearing is to outline the purpose, use, and benefit to be served by the project, the location of the project, and the reasons for the selection of that location, and the general effect of the project on the environment and residents of the town of Carmel and the county of Putnam. The project is located approximately 1.3 mile long section of Fair Street between between State Route 52, Glenina Avenue, and a point approximately 1,300 feet east of the intersection of Fair Street with Hillendale Road in the town of Carmel, county of Putnam, state of New York. Any person viewing and or listening to the public hearing shall be given a reasonable opportunity to present an oral or written statement and to submit other documents concerning the project. Persons wishing to comment during the public hearing should register in advance for the audio conference by following the instructions on the following internet link: www.putnamcountynewyork.gov, Highways Projects. Registration will be available beginning June 11th, 2021, and a confirmation email will be sent. Persons who wish to file written statements and other documents in place of or in addition to oral statements made at the public hearing should mail such statements or documents to the attention of the Commissioner of Highways, at the department's office at 842 Fair Street, Carmel, New York, 10512, or email to fairstreet.publichearing@putnamcountynewyork.gov. Written comments and documents received before July 2, 2021 will be made part of the public record. A record of the public hearing will be kept, including written statements submitted, and will be made available to the public for examination on the county's website and by appointment and with adherence to proper health protocols in the office of the Putnam County Executive, 3rd floor, 40 Oneida Avenue, Carmel, New York, in the office of the Putnam County Clerk, 1st floor, 40 Oneida Avenue, Carmel, New York. As stated in the notice, there are several purposes associated with tonight's hearing. Number 1, to provide information on the proposed project's background and evolution. Number 2, to explain and describe the public use, benefits, and purpose to be served by the proposed project. Number 3, to describe the location or geographic parameters of the proposed project and explain the reasons for the selection of the location. Number 4, to discuss the general effect of the proposed project on the environment and on the residents of the town of Carmel. Identify the property interests the county will need to acquire to accomplish the project. And finally, to accept and consider public comments on the proposed project. The oral statements made during tonight's session will be recorded. The recording will be available on the county's website at www.putnamcountynewyork.gov, highways projects. Additionally, various documents will be made available for public inspection. These documents have been marked as exhibits and are incorporated into the record of this hearing. The hearing exhibits will be made available to the public for examination by appointment and with adherence to proper health protocols at the office of the county executive and at the office of the Putnam County Clerk. Any person who would like to examine these records should contact the county office at 845-808-1142, extension 49301 to make an appointment. Following tonight's session, members of the public are also invited to submit written comments or other documents relating to the proposed project. As stated in the notice, your written comments and documents should be addressed to the Commissioner of Highways at the department's office at 842 Fair Street, Carmel, New York, 10512, or email to fairstreet.publichearing@putnamcountynewyork.gov. These written comments and documents will be included in the record of this hearing. As mentioned previously, there are several exhibits that are part of the record of this proceeding. The notice of tonight's public hearing was published in the Journal News and in the Putnam County Times. The affidavits of publication of the notice are marked as exhibits 1 and 2. In addition to publishing the notice of this hearing in the newspaper, the county mailed notices to each of the assessment record billing owners potentially impacted by the project. The affidavit of mailing of the letter notices is marked as Exhibit 3. Also available tonight for public inspection is a copy of the design report prepared by the engineering firm retained by the county to design and oversee this project. It includes many of the technical details relating to the project, including the scope and evolution, alternatives, and environmental matters that were considered. The design report is broken into 4 chapters and supporting appendices as listed in the next 5 slides. Chapter 1 provides an executive summary which summarizes the needs and objectives of the project with anticipated impacts and mitigation measures. It also provides high-level cost estimates and a summary of public involvement to date. Chapter 2 includes a history of the project and surrounding land uses. It also documents the existing transportation infrastructure that is in place today. Chapter 3 explains the 2 alternatives that were considered and dismissed, and why the 3rd alternative was ultimately identified as the preferred alternative. Chapter 4 details impacts and associated mitigation and permitting requirements the project may have on social, economic, and environmental considerations. Lastly are the appendices listed in this slide. These include backup material that were used to compile various components of the design report. The design report is marked as Exhibit 4. With regards to additional exhibits for the record, the PowerPoint presentation prepared for tonight's public hearing, which is currently being presented on the screen and contains technical information on the project corridor, is marked as Exhibit 5. In addition, the audio-visual recording of this public hearing is marked as Exhibit 6. This recording will be available at the office of the Putnam County Executive and the office of the Putnam County Clerk. Finally, all written public comment submissions received by the county will be collectively entered into the hearing record as Exhibit 7. Now I would like to transition to the technical portion of the public hearing. The project is a federally aided project that is locally administered by Putnam County. This means that the majority of funding for the project comes from the federal government, with smaller portions being contributed by the state and county. The federal funding is routed through the New York State DOT, who oversees the project. In this case, Steve McAvery of New York State DOT acts as the reviewer to ensure federal guidelines are met. From the county, Fred Penna of the Department of Highways and Facilities oversees the project, while Zen Wojcik is responsible for day-to-day operations. CHA Consulting is the design consultant, with me, Joe Cimino, as the project manager, and my colleague, Matt Collingwood, as the project engineer. Tom Height of RK Height and Company is handling property acquisitions for the project. Overall, Fair Street is part of the county's arterial roadway network connecting New York State Route 311 near I-84 Interchange 18 and New York State Route 52, Oneida Avenue, at the town's commercial center. It carries up to 10,000 cars per day in the project area. A number of local assets exist along Fair Street, including Carmel High School, the U.S. Post Office, and the Fred Dill Wildlife Sanctuary, to name a few. Fair Street was originally identified as a roadway in need of improvements in the mid-1990s and formally became a federally funded TIP project in the year 2000. After preliminary work began, the project was soon delayed for many years as a result of funding shortfalls at that time. After what was a relatively long delay, the funding issues were worked out and the project was reconstituted in 2016. The proposed project is consistent with the Town of Carmel Comprehensive Plan. As shown in this slide, from west to east, the Fair Street reconstruction project begins at its intersection with New York State Route 52 or Oneida Avenue and extends approximately 1.3 miles east to a point approximately 1,300 feet east of Hillendale Road. During scoping and preliminary design of the project, a set of design objectives were developed by the project team to act as guiding criteria. As seen on the current slide, these objectives center around safety enhancements, reduction of congestion, particularly between Oneida Avenue and the Carmel High School, restoring the physical transportation infrastructure, including the roadway pavement and drainage, as well as replacement of 3 large culverts that carry Michael Brook under Fair Street. And finally, quality of life components, including new sidewalk and lighting. With regards to project funding, federal funding committed to this project is currently approximately $18 million and includes funds from both the Federal Surface Transportation Block Grant and the Federal Community Multi-Scale Air Quality Funding Programs. Currently, the project is in between the preliminary and detailed design phase. Prior to detailed design, the project must first obtain design approval by New York State DOT. And this is expected to occur in the next 1 to 2 months. When the project moves into detailed design, the plans and right-of-way acquisitions will be progressed further and permitting applications will be submitted. These tasks should carry us through spring 2022, at which point the project will be submitted to New York DOT for final design review. After their review, the plans will be finalized in the summer of 2022, where once again the project will be submitted to DOT to obtain authorization to advertise the project for construction. Construction is then expected to begin in the fall of 2022 and finish in the spring of 2024. The project has been identified as a federal NEPA D-list categorical exclusion project as documented in the project's federal environmental approval worksheet. In addition, all New York State seeker requirements have been met. Specifically, the project has been progressed, as an unlisted action and the county as lead agency. After completing a full environmental assessment form and coordinating an agency review, a seeker negative declaration was issued by the county. The anticipated environmental impacts of the project are based on alternative 3, the full roadway reconstruction alternative, which will be presented in more detail later in this presentation. With regards to environmental impacts, alternative 3 will result in approximately 0.1 acres of wetland impacts and 364 linear feet of stream impacts along Michael Brook and its tributaries. These impacts will require permits from both the New York State DEC and the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. The proposed project will also require stormwater management provisions to meet New York State and New York City DEC requirements. A significant water quality mitigation feature of this project will be construction of a new stormwater detention basin, the location of which will be shown later in this presentation. The proposed project will also require the removal of a home at number 61 Fair Street in order to replace one of the Michael Brook culverts. An asbestos assessment of this home will be required prior to its removal. 3 alternatives have been considered for this project. The first is the null or do nothing alternative. Alternative 2 is roadway rehabilitation, basically consisting of a pavement overlay. Neither of these 2 alternatives meet the project objectives. Alternative 3, which is the county's preferred alternative, is called the roadway reconstruction alternative. This alternative provides safety enhancements by improving non-standard roadway features, provides safety improvements and reduces congestion at both the Glenida Avenue intersection and the Carmel High School driveway, completely replaces the roadway pavement, including the roadway subsurface materials, provides a new drainage system, replaces 3 large culverts that carry Michael Brook, and provides new concrete sidewalk and lighting connecting Carmel's Commercial Center at Glenida Avenue to the Carmel High School. As this first of 5 aerial slide shows, from west to east, the major project geometric and infrastructure improvements include a new dedicated westbound left turn lane from Fair Street to Glenida Avenue to help improve traffic operations at this intersection, new 5-foot wide concrete sidewalk and curbing on the north side of Fair Street, which continues for the length of the project, as well as on the south side of Fair Street from Glenida Avenue to the eastern Carmel High School parking lot. New decorative street lighting from Glenida Avenue to Vink Drive, traffic safety and access improvements at both the U.S. Post Office and Carmel High School driveways, realignment of Vink Drive, and a new 11-foot wide 2-way center turn lane from Glenida Avenue to beyond the Eastern School parking lot to improve traffic congestion and access to driveways and intersecting roadways along this stretch of Fair Street. moving east along the corridor. The second aerial shows the location of the 3 Michael Brook culverts to be replaced, the house to be removed at number 61 Fair Street, and part of the proposed stormwater management detention basin's access roadway. The next slide here shows the proposed location of the new detention basin and its access roadway. Continuing east along the corridor, this fourth aerial slide shows continuation of the full depth roadway reconstruction, continuation of the new sidewalk on the north side of the roadway, and intersection locations where sight distance or turning vehicles will be improved. This final aerial takes us to the eastern limit of the project. The project requires acquisition of real property rights from more than 60 property owners. Included in the record of tonight's hearing via the next 7 slides, the county is required to follow a specific federal state process to acquire the property rights necessary for the construction of the project. This process is subject to the oversight by the New York State Department of Transportation and the Federal Highway Administration. This process includes initial property owner meetings, property appraisals, appraisal reviews, fair market value offers and agreements, and transfers of title. The next 6 slides are a summary of the property owners and types of acquisitions required for the project and are submitted in the record via this PowerPoint presentation and the design approval document that is labeled as an exhibit for this presentation. So once again, where we stand in this project is that is in between preliminary and detailed design. It is anticipated that detailed design will begin sometime in the next month and extend into spring 2022, especially as it pertains to the extensive right-of-way acquisition and environmental permitting processes required for this project. The goal then is to let the project for construction in the summer of 2022 and begin construction in the fall of 2022, with construction ending in the spring of 2024. This concludes the technical portion of the public hearing. An important aspect of the public hearing process is receiving comments from the general public regarding the project. Prior to the public hearing, you were provided an opportunity to register as a participant and indicate if you're interested in providing a verbal comment tonight. We have allotted 3 minutes for each individual to address this hearing. The required format for this public hearing does not allow us to respond to your statements and questions at this time. However, all statements and comments received will be addressed by the project team, and written responses to comments received tonight will be provided by the county as necessary. So with that, I would like to turn the public comment portion of this hearing back to Commissioner Penna. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe, for the presentation. It is now the time to take comments in from the public. We have 3 that have registered, and then we will give an opportunity to raise hands and open it up for other comments to be received. We have our mediator who is going to move forward with the acceptance of those who have registered first.
Good evening and welcome to the public comment meeting for the Fair Street Reconstruction Project. Today is Wednesday, June 16th, 2021. We have a few rules and guidelines that we ask all participants to follow this evening. The comment portion of this meeting serves for comment only and is not intended to be an open dialogue among the meeting participants. We ask that everyone stays muted until you have been advised that it is your turn to speak. We will next hear from members of the public who have registered to speak through our portal. This will be done in the order in which we received your registration through the portal. Each speaker will have up to 3 minutes to speak. When it is your turn to speak, your name will be announced and we will confirm that your audio is working. You must state your name and the town in which you reside. You will then be timed for 3 minutes. You will be advised when there are 30 seconds remaining. At the end of 3 minutes, your microphone will be muted. The first name on the list is Paul Bichelle. Paul, we don't see you on audio. If you can message us in the chat and dial in so we can get to you. I see you have a camera but no audio. We'll move next to John Butler and we'll come back to Paul.
Thank you. I have a few points to raise. Number one.
I'm sorry, can you please state also the town you reside?
Yes, I'm John Butler. I reside in the hamlet of Carmel off Fair Street. So the point I wish to raise is as follows. I saw recently in the Putnam County Legislature Physical Service Committee meeting that this project was raised. And in fact, the response was it was going nowhere due to the fact that the county and Mr. Pena had received no response from the state of New York as to their whatever was required from them for this project in over a year. So my question or my comment in the presentation is, what and why was the reason for that? My second comment is, I think it was approximately 2 years ago that there was a presentation by the county, very similar to, I think, what we just saw about taking of property and just about everything that was just mentioned in the presentation. And nothing seems to have changed since that time. It literally, the process has stopped. Thirdly, I know the federal funding of this project, I believe, has been available for quite literally the past 30 years, which was the first time that I actually started to inquire and understand the funding of this project. So the final comment is, what is our expectation that starting 30 years ago, we were told that this project is going forward. 2 years ago, we were told the process that's been described tonight is starting then. And now tonight, we're being told again that we're basically going forward. But I would really, again, to repeat, what was the reason, the cause, et cetera, that the state of New York, in their non-response to the County of Putnam as respects this project, has put us so far behind in the completion of the project. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Butler. Next we have Joseph Camilleri. I'm going to unmute you.
Hi, my name is Joseph Camilleri. I live in Pearl River, New York. I have a relative who lives on Fair Street. So one of my questions is what's going to be done about the traffic? Nowhere did I see anything about street lights or stop signs or anything like that. If you're having more pedestrians walking, how are you going to slow the traffic down so no one gets hurt? Second question I had was about the taxes. If you're taking a portion of people's properties, will their school and property taxes also be lowered by that same proportion? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Camilleri. That's the end of our list. Is Paul Michelle? I'm going to see if I can get you unmuted if you've dialed in. If you came in on a phone number, if you can
Let us know in the chat.
if you can let us know in the chat box. If anyone else has a comment, you can raise your hand. We'll leave that open for a few moments. And you just raise your hand into the meeting and we'll call on you. So first I'm going to call on Gus Fotopoulos.
Yes, my name is Gus Fotopoulos. I live in the hamlet of Carmel, and I am an owner of the home, the back of which actually faces the Fair Street and where the proposed sidewalk is to be installed. I have been informed that my property will only be affected to the extent of possibly encroaching with regard to the construction. However, it is my understanding that the town of Carmel imposes the obligation for the maintenance of the sidewalks on abutting homeowners. Since the property is at the back of my yard and technically abuts my property, who is going to be responsible for maintaining the sidewalk with respect to snow and ice removal, given the applicable laws with regard to maintaining a sidewalk, especially since I do not have direct access, since the front of my house actually is on Kyle Court, which is which in terms of the location is parallel to Fair Street, but quite a distance away. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Next, we will hear from Carol Edlinger.
Hi, this is Amanda Etlinger. I'm the daughter of Carol Etlinger. She lives on Fair Street in Carmel and is one of the affected properties. Our concern is that these projects usually take much longer than the proposed amount of time. And residents are going to be compensated. We don't know how much at this point. But if a year and a half goes by and the project is still ongoing, are residents going to be additionally compensated? My mother may want to sell her house in the next few years, and obviously the property value is going to be affected in a very big way if the whole front of the yard is torn up and full of construction trucks. So I just want to know if there will be additional compensation if the project is not completed in the 1.5 years that is being proposed.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else who has not spoken that would like to speak? You can raise your hand.
Okay. Thank you for the comments this evening. Again, comments can be received as late as July 2nd, 2021, and they will be entered into the record. Obviously, we will review all of the comments and look to answer them. I just got noticed by the moderator that a few more individuals would like to speak. We'd like to keep that open for their opportunity.
Next, we have Paul Buccello.
Good evening, Paul Buccello. I live right off of Fair Street. Actually, my front door faces Fair Street, so I'm one of the properties that's affected as well. My issue, besides, I echo the comment by the woman before me, but additionally, we're talking about from the gentleman that stopped by the house and spoke to my wife a couple of years ago, them moving onto my property. I'm very close to the street as it is. It's going to change the nature of my property huge. So any future resale value of my house is going to be affected quite a bit. And, you know, I'd like to speak to the other homeowners that are affected here, because regardless of whatever sort of compensation is being offered, to live through a year and a half plus of this, you know, I think is asking a lot of people. So that and next meeting, I'd like to see what the SWIP plan is, considering we're adding more roadway as well as concrete sidewalks, as opposed to using, say, a permeable paver base. I'd like to see how that was mitigated. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we will call on Joan Fitzgerald.
Thank you. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
So I had a conversation this week about the project. I called in and I advised that the survey that
Can you hold on for 1 second?
Can you please
Sure.
state your town where you reside?
I'm sorry, I live in the town of Carmel. I live on Fair Street.
Okay, thank you.
And I am impacted by this. We did have someone come out several years ago and say they were taking only a sliver. They did tell me that they were using my front lawn as a staging area, which is not okay with me. But I'm concerned that there's been a garage built on my property since you guys have done a survey, and it does not show on your survey. So I'd like to be sure that there's a new survey used, because I'm sure there are other people since 2010 that have put on additions on their homes or garages or other things that I don't believe the town is taking into account. So I just want to make sure that a current survey is done. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next, we have John Grana. And I will unmute you in just a moment. John, are you able to unmute? You'll need to unmute yourself if you'd like to speak. Okay, Paul Buchel, are you able to, I'm going to unmute you.
Yes, this is Paul Buchel, 82 Fair Street, Carmel. At this point, I just have a question. Is there a place, time when I can pick up a final design report so I can find out more about what's happening here? I'm sort of in the dark about a lot of this, and I seem to be a major player in it. That's all I have right now.
All right, I believe that was the last comment that was received. All hands that were raised have been, have had the opportunity to speak. We'd like to thank the public for attending this public hearing on the Fair Street Improvement Project. And we look forward to moving forward and taking those comments in and reviewing them prior to moving forward with detailed design and the construction phase. Thank you and good night.